Let me start with a very basic question. How many of you truly believe, or a company whom you are working with on some user experience project, that they're providing the superior services which value their customer? That customer is your user. Your employees are your user. Your customers are your user. The people you're targeting with, these are your users. So these are different kinds of your users. So most of the companies think that they are providing the value to their customer. Let me share my screen and provide you one research. You guys able to see my screen? Please message if yes. Okay. So this is the percentage of the companies who believe that they providing the superior value to your customer. They are 80%. And what is the fact? The companies whose clients agree, these are 8%. What is the delivery gap? 72%. Companies are unable to know that actually their customer not think that they are getting any value. So what kind of hard work they are doing, what product they are providing, what services they are offering. There is a business delivery gap. And how to quantify that delivery gap, how to reduce that delivery gap. This is how you will do the user research. You identify what user actually wants. So that's how our session is revolved around. I hope some of you basically understood this. This quote maybe you have already uh, heard of or maybe read of. And it's only natural to assume that everyone uses the web the same way we do and like everyone else. We tend to think that our own behavior is much more orderly and sensible than it really is. It's Steve Krug. Don't Make Me Think Revisited. That's his book name. There is a very important word here, assume. And what does it really means? If we write down it separately, this word assume, then you will be understood mostly that it's basically as you mean. So basically it's means nothing. You're basically just an S. And considering yourself as me. This is the gap of user behavior which you have to consider. Never assume. There is no assumption into the user study. You have to be very specific, and that's how your product will be great. Your user experience will be great. That user experience is not only your design, it's actually design thinking, which you are thinking about the user, you are thinking about the design which will be getting any impact with the user. So you have to see or understand about your user with with the following five questions. Who your users are. If you're targeting some of the user, assume if you are targeting some of the user group, or you are trying to sell a Mercedes to a person having a salary of 50,000 or 40,000 a month. So how can he afford this Mercedes? So you are basically at the wrong user group. So who your user are, you have to be understood about your user. And how we qualify or quantify those users. This is as this session will progress, I will try to update you about this. The second thing is what their needs are, what your user actually wants. If you want to sell something to your user, you are not selling it. You don't have to sell your product, you don't have to sell these services. You have to sell the solution for the problems. So you have to identify and quantify the problems of the user and then align your solutions to that problems. Then there is a third question, what they want. You have to be clearly understanding about what your user wants. You have to list down these wants and needs. How they currently do the things. For sure, there are some problems which are time bound, like if they have a mobile phone and 30 years back there was not no mobile phones, so the currently doing things on the mobile was not the activity of 30 years back activities. So you have to see what they currently do, how they currently do the things, and then identify the solutions with those current areas and current activities. So how they would like to do them. You have to identify what is the psychology of the user. So the psychology is a great mix to handshake your user experience with the business experience. Then you have to further check the golden circle. Golden circle rule is you have to, there is a pyramid or three questions of, there are three different basic questions where you have to know the unknown things. Why, how, and what. So why the user experience? Why user research? How to do the user research and what is the user research? So let's start with what factor. What is user research? So technically, and it's not only theoretically, it's practically, user research are based on two types: quantitative research and qualitative research. Quantitative, where you can measure with the quantity. Qualitative, which will be qualified to measure the user behavior in a way that can be quantified and used for the statistical analysis. I will repeat it when I will describe it into the detail. And then there is a qualitative research where you have an in-depth understanding of the experiences and everyday lives of individual users or user group. Uh, Whenever you have to research your users, you have to understand that individual user is thinking differently from any individual user. But if many users from a same user group are thinking on the same lines, that means this is a common problem of one particular user group. So you have to identify the problems, needs, research based on the qualitative research, and then you have to draw a line of or categorize it into a user group. So this is your qualitative research. How to do it, I will tell you later. Why to do it? Why user research? So the answer is empathy. Empathy is the heart of design. Without the understanding of what others see, feel, and experience, design is pointless task. Uh, you might knew that initially there were graphic designer, there was a creative designer, there were design directors, but by the passage of time, these fields shifted into the user experience. You can say it user-centered, customer-centered, uh, or interaction design, IXD. All of them are basically revolves around the user. That category is UX, user experience, and that user experiences revolves around the empathy, and that empathy you will get with the user research. So this is basically the chain. Why we need the user research, and how a user interacts with the product, how we will use this user research. So, as I already told you that there are two types, a quantitative research and a qualitative research. The first research of quantitative research is guerrilla testing, interviews is the second part, focus groups, in-lab testing, card sorting. These are the five different types or five different methods of quantitative search. So quantitative search, when you have to do the guerrilla testing, it's a fast and low cost testing methods such as street videos, field observation, reviews of the paper sketches, or online tools for the remote usability testing. You can do the remote testing by observing people from the online tools and other areas. This is your guerrilla testing. It's cost effective, it's fast, but not necessary that it will be true. People tells the lie until or unless you will be communicate with them in a two-way conversation. So that's a part, but not a very solid part. The second part is your interviews. So one-on-one interviews that follow up preset selection of the questions, prompting the user to describe their interaction, thoughts, and feelings in relation to a product or service. If you have a well-defined live product or you have a set of services, then you can interact with the people how you like it. If you have a prototype, you have to show them that prototype to the customer. And if you don't have the prototype, you don't have the product or services, then you can simply draw it on the paper or write it to the paper in the form of few words. So you can interact with the people. Interviews are the factual, the very solid way to understand the right needs. So this is a part of quantitative measure. Focus group, there's some particular groups which are gather data around the particular product or services. For instance, if you wanted to provide some uh, a website which offer designers to do the customized jobs, such as a marketplace, you can say, or you can say that it would be a job website. So you have to see the competitor or the focus group of the competitors. Those focus groups are basically your Upwork, Upwork community. The people from Upwork don't like one particular area, so this is their pain point. This is how they feel. You have to gather that data from these focus groups. So this is your focus group understanding. Then there is in-lab testing, where observation of the user completing particular task in the controlled environment. How you do that? Let me show you one very basic example here. This is a tool which I am using. It's called real-time board. I suggest you guys that please install it. One board is I have a purchased version, so I have multiple boards, multiple projects available. You can purchase it. It's very cheap and but doing a very high effective management planning and even user experience working with a team collaboration and a whiteboarding suggestion. But it's free for one board. You can see that here we have different options, plugins, and there's an option of timer, real time board. You can see here, there's the name, real time board. Let me write it down here. Real time board. So you can see this is the timer, 15 minutes timer, or I will write this 1 minute timer and it start. So I knew that what the task I have to do if you want your user to test the project or a team to test the project, everyone having the time and they can see the timer, and this timer will be provide them the status. Or you can use a vote activity. There's somewhere frame, presentation mode, comments, chat. This is voting. So you can use this voting section, and the voting title is, let's say, a screen or prototype testing, or let's say you are designing a FAQ part and there are two different options which you are using, or you are asking a question how to use your uh, hello, is there. So if you have two options and you are writing this as a suggestion, option 1, and option 1, and there is an option 2, and now you want a suggestion from your team or from different users, you start enable this timers and this voting option choice, and you provide the timer of 1 minute or 2 minutes and vote how many votes, so people can do one or two, so one vote at a time, sticky notes, test, start voting. Now people start voting. I'm going to vote it. My timer started and I have picked this one. So this is my vote. So if 10 or 15 users, I will get the data here that how many people voted on which option. So there's a one way of doing this vote session. So I hope you will knew this part. So there are different softwares who are providing the same option, or you can physically get the votings based on some. This is happened in lab testing. You can record their activities from by screen sharing. You can record their test with the video recording, the camera recording. So this is all activities will define into this in lab testing for the quantitative research. And then there is a card sorting. Uh, the card sorting is basically, uh, let me show you here, card sorting user research. Now you can see that this is the card sorting. You write down your activities, you placed it into the boards, or so this kind of activity is called your card sorting. Uh, I have done many. So if some of you guys following me from the Facebook or the LinkedIn, they might saw some of these card sorting techniques, or you might have experience in your companies for this card sorting. So just trying to update you that this card sorting factor, where you write what customer is thinking about, it is called the card sorting way, which is the quantitative measure again. And then there is a qualitative research where you can go for the user surveys. SurveyMonkey is the example of this. You can even use this MailChimp for the user surveys or the Google Forms. So this is the user surveys. To measure the user experience, how the individual user experience with the empathy of this using this application. Then there is the first click testing, when user click on a website, to which area their very first clickable, which is the element which they click the very first time. That is the first click testing. Someone asked a question, sharing the slides. Sure, I will share the slides to you. So back to the call. So then we have eye tracking. Yesterday, some of you were part of this tutorial, and I shown to them this software. The software name iMotions is for Mac. You can get many for the Windows as well. This is a motion detector. You ask for your user that open your webcam and do some certain activities. So they can see the angle of the face, their eyes, which area they are looking at, and you can see that this is the interaction and activity on the page, on the sections, and which area they act more or look at more. So this is called your eye tracking. If you are into the user experience, you have to be very much specific, or specifically understand that it's yeah, I already told Anirudh that if you are hearing me, I already told that I will provide you the screens. I will provide these screenshots. Okay. Okay. Welcome. So it's the basic purpose of this session is to make yourself to one level to one level high, so you can do the user research based on what actually needed, what actually provide the value to the business, value to the product, rather just providing the designs or follow the instructions of the developers, or follow the instructions what you are asked for. So provide what actually user needed, provide what business needed. So uh, that was eye tracking. So I was telling you that if you are really into the user experience field, and you uh, after something big and something solution provided, so you have to see what's the latest in in the field, in the IT industry. For instance, VR, AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, eye tracking softwares, analytics. So you have to be well aware and well managed with, and well equipped with all of these tools. There is heat mapping. Uh, okay. So there is heat mapping, visual mapping data is a crazy egg, and there are other tools as well. Yesterday I had shown this screen as well, that you can see where user mostly clicked. So if you have active website, if you have a prototype having this kind of software involved into it, then you will get actual data, and you decide which component needed to be placed in which area. So these are again based on the actual user activities. Then there is the web analytics. You can use Google Analytics, you can use IBM Analytics, you can use other analytics to identify the analytics for the web. So this is about your tracking of the user. Uh, I hope that most of you will be well aware about the Google Analytics, that it is very commonly used. So web analytics, A/B testing. Uh, for you who have no idea about the A/B testing, it's basically you are making two different designs or two different prototypes and ask user or to use it, and then you utilize the heat mapping or eye tracking of web analytics to understand which areas are clicking most, which interface is more popular amongst the user, as this prototype is not for you. Like I provided you a quote earlier, it is not for you, it is for your user. So always understand that your user might think something other than that. So Socrates once said that your it's you who have to understand about yourself. But nowadays, it's not only you. You are the important factor in the macro or ecosystem to get your product successful. But it's all about your users, not you. Your users are primarily who can destroy your product or can make your product successful. So this is the basic impact which I wanted to show you, that how, why, and what we measure as a golden circle for this user research part. Yesterday we covered most of these areas. Uh, The job is still very new here, and we have not yet the real level. I expect the coming days to organize UX events to increase the level. Yes, for sure. So this is only to update you that user how user research is important, why user research is important, and if you will be, or most of the people start to utilize these activities into their product, into their designs, it will be improve them. It will be helpful into the improvement of their products. Maybe 10%, maybe 20%, maybe 30%, but for sure it will be into the improvement phase. And how to measure the improvement? It's lead conversion, simply. It's success rate of the products. I wonder, some of the people said that how many designers are into the Facebook? And have you even think of what design of Facebook have? If you are unable to see the design, it's a successful user experience. So that is the user experience, and that's how they research with the user. Um, I recommend you guys to go and check this website, www.nngroup.com. So this NN Group is basically Nielsen Norman Group. They are the UX trainers and a well-known uh, a well-known website amongst all of the UX. So in your usability testing, you can see that this is a graph of usability. Let's continue with this. So you can get your user research with some sample data. The user research usability sample size 7 to 10 participant. Uh, Ethnographic sample size start with 12 and with 20 plus. We group by persona. Yesterday I told some of the um, available guys that um, we start with the persona, and if you are not aware about the persona, it's basically the customer pain points identification, gain points identification, and here is an example of persona. This is an example of persona, that if I'm working with the health system and I have to talk or interview. I have to conduct an interview with the doctors to know who they are and what they are feeling. The insights are based on this interview. Uh, yes, Oman, please, you can unmute your mic and ask the question.
Hi guys. Uh, Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing us user research. This is the most important part of the UX process, I know. I have one question about this. How we know user real problem?
Okay. Uh, Let me go back with our original screens. How we know that what is the actual user problem? Interview with them. You can talk on the focus groups, community or blogs. You can have a conduct in-lab testing, the card sorting, or a different way by online forms, user surveys, heat mapping. From these areas, you can identify the problems. The real example is how I get the real problem into the user. I conduct the interview with the doctor. Uh, the basic application was on fundraising app for the medical personas or trainees or gynecologists, and they were basically they were actually building a mobile app for gynecology trainers. So I conduct the interviews with real-time users, because if I will not do these quantitative or qualitative measures with actual users, it will be only an assumption. And as mentioned that it's only as you me. So I don't want to be an S. So I have to talk with the customers to get the actual problems, to identify the actual problem. So this was the problem that she said during the interview questions. I had listed the questions. I will show later into this session that how to ask the questions from the user. And she said, I want to find the right product for me where I can promote mother healthcare and get access to gynecology learning. So the initial product was a fundraising app for the trainers and gynecologists. So I shown this pain point to my customer, and we agreed that we will involve uh, a learning session within the app, because most of the users were asked about it. Let me show you one more thing, so you can better understand this psychology of the customers. Uh, okay, here you go. So this is basically card sorting, where I sort my card, and I see that wanted people wanting a learning system. So I started it as a content management system. How the content management system will work technically, by providing them the listing, edit, delete, create, and view feature. So this is the content material. Every one of us, I hope every one of us already understood about the CRUD, the create, retrieve, update, and delete methodology. So you have to design these screens. The question is how to know that customer wanted these screens. This area appear from this section. Customer wanted a learning section where they can promote. So there's a promotion section as well. So I talked with my customer that they wanted the content management system, they want a contest, they want a voting, and then we will relate it into the funds. So original business goal was the fund app, but we aligned it with the content. When the content was available, the content may be a spam, so there would be a spam management. So the product or usability basically improved based on the one single point where user provided his intention or his pain or her pain point. And at the same time I saw what is her motivation aspects, what's her personality, uh, what technology. If she is not aware about the softwares, it means there is a user group who might be of the same age group or based on same living area or maybe it's based on this educational background who are not aware about the software most. So these are the key points which I understood from this user. The second user group is this: the age group is different, motivation level different, technology aspects different, but her pain point is different. I want to find the right product for me where I can collaborate with superior in gynae and ops to enhance and share the knowledge, which means she wanted a community activity, the chat feature. I think I haven't write down here the chat feature. This messages management, message room management. So there's a chat feature, chat room settings, chat room general, chat room themes. So all of these pain points appears from the actual user's pain points. So this is how you get the pain points from the user interviews. I hope I answered the question. Or do you want to know something more, Aman? Okay. So till now, do any of you guys have any question so I can respond it and then I'll lead to because we have less time and cover more things. Okay, thank you very much. Uh, Let me provide you this part. When you start your talk with your customer, you have to developing your script. You don't have to ask any question randomly or out of the way. You have to prepare. You have to prepare your questions. And once you asked, just listen. Open your antennas right away. You have to listen to get maximum data from the user. As I had told yesterday, that uh, you don't have to try to influence your user that ask a certain question or a certain way which you want to listen. Just let it open so they can provide the real pain points and you can gather that pain points, what the business is, getting the troubles, getting the problems out from the user groups, and add your knowledge into it, align it with the solution, and here's your businesses. If it would be not a very time taking story, but I would like to share it. There was a burger, I am not aware about that name of the company. Uh, the initial hamburger provider into the in USA. If I had written their name, yes, this was the individual success. White Castle. White Castle was a company. It was 100 years of industrialization into the USA, 1800 till 1900. And there was a factory workers' time barrier. They don't have the time to wait for the food. They have to be in rush. They have to be worried to go for 1 hour break, the 15 minutes time to go find some food area and order their food, the cook time and the eat time and return back to the office. That's a waste time if they cannot even be late in a minute because the factory door would be closed. So from that issue, many of the companies started their food chains and get the benefit out of the situation, but they were only provided the services. That's the difference between services and a solution. They were providing their services on very higher rates, which is not affordable. And the problem was still there. They don't have time, no time to wait for the food. So Walt Anderson, he was the first person who understood this problem and think the possible solution is. And what was the possible solution is? He was making the food easier to handle the process, standard low cost burgers. He was starting this hamburger food chain in 1921, 5 cent prices. All of the food, just like McDonald's and KFC, they have everything well in place and prepared. uh, People came, or the factory workers appears, order for their food, and within 5 minutes time they provide them the cash back. Their food live with them, and they can eat, and they can eat during the walk. So it was basically a massive success, and that's how companies successful. If you are providing some solution out of align with the problems, this is where your user experience appears. It's not design, it's a user experience, research, and their solution providing. Everything else appears out of the way. So, developing scripts, you have to write down your script, questions, and then listen. That's the first smaller thing. The script should include some background about the site, question about the tester. If it's an app, then it's about the app. If it's about the services, then ask very precisely and to the point, and 5 to 10 specific tasks to complete. Uh, if you are asking too many questions to the user, you are actually wasting their time. Your user might be an employer, your user might be a doctor. They have a very precise time. So in a shorter time, you have to ask small question with the great impact to get their pain points. How to develop the scripts. An example is you have an assignment to write a 3 to 5 page paper on the economic impact of climate change. Find a peer-reviewed article that you can use into the paper. Imagine you have assigned a read an ebook version of. So these are basically uh, activities of the pages, papers, or books. Let's make it. Uh, One of you asked me about the cryptocurrency. If you are working with a company who's doing the cryptocurrency, so your question might be how you like the paper currency, or if what are the drawbacks of the paper currency. The problem might, some of the users will say, the issue of theft. So that is the pain point of the user, and you can relate it with the solution. So ask the pain points from them. Or maybe some of the users said that we have no issue with the paper currency. So ask different question. What benefit you see into the liquid currency or digital currency? So these are, you have to prepare your script. The steps of developing the script is you have to write method is task, participation, demonstration, role playing, and observation. How you do that? The task, you have to ask them about a task, but you have to participate and get their participation into the task. Not like someone says that go and pick a book for me. No. If there is a process, you have to see a customer who is changing the wheel for a car. So you have to go with them, ask an interview, how you can change a wheel, how to identify that wheel needs to be changed. So this is the first task. So how he participates with the real customer. You have to analyze. Maybe he go with a car having a punctured tire. So this you have to see the participation. Demonstration. Uh, if it's an online project, you can ask for a YouTube video. You can ask for their real life act on this their participation. So this is their real time demonstration. There is a role playing. I'll be the student, you will be the librarian. I'll ask you help in narrowing my topic. So you can get. I remember one of our crucial conversation class. We have a role playing that I am a manager, you are my employee, and I am going to shout on you. So you have to start your crucial conversation with me that I will not hate you. So this is the first task. I was playing a role of a manager, and the second person was playing the role of employee. And the second 5 minutes, after 5 minutes, the role was shifted, and I was an employee, and he was a manager, and he was angry on me, and I have to play with the crucial conversation. So there's a role playing where you can understand the pain points. Like Oman asked, how to identify the customer's pain point. So you have to not only simply ask the question, you have to ask them to demonstrate it. You have to allow them to participate in very free manner. You have to start some role playing acts, and you have to write them. how to, why to do the role playing act, which role playing act, and from this act, what data you will be perceive for your pain point identification. And then there is an observation. You have to observe. Remember, saying and doing. There are difference between saying and doing. You don't have to. You only have to write what they are saying, and you have to actually understand what they are doing. Yeah, yesterday I shown one of the empathy map. Remember, this was the empathy map. After the customer persona, when you get the data from the users, you have to write down these card sorting acts. What user thinks and feel, what they hear, what they see, what they say, what they do. And out of these points, you have to get the pain points and the gain points. This is your empathy maps, how you deliver the empathy maps for each user group. So there is the act of developing your script. Uh, the tips is tips for the user testing, user research, or the interviews. You must be clear, very clear in your objective. So your questions will not detract. Your answers will not. The answer of the customer or reaction will not detract you from your original goals. Precision. You will be very much precise. Uh, so not a wording twist or a meaning twist can align the talk in a different manner on a different way. So you have to write. You have a very limited time. So you be specific, be clear, be precise. Independent tasks. Each task should be independent from the different tasks. Like if people tend to think that in the last task I did or a role playing task or a last question was this, so maybe this question is relating to that question. So every question will be different. Success criteria. That is, success criteria is not with the user you are interviewing. It's after that interview. Um, in yesterday session, I shown one segmentation that after the user session, you have a debriefing meeting with your team, compiling the affinity map. It is a cluster of the cards. And then you have a stakeholder review. In debriefing and stakeholder review, you have to talk with your team that what are the results and what is the success criteria. So these you must have to write down. And then pilot. Run a pilot study with one to participant to confirm everything works before running it with all your participants. So this is this is the end result where you have to plan your script of for this user testing, user acceptance testing, planning your session, researcher per session, 1 to 3 max. Uh, the more researchers would be available into the interviews, the interviewer or the user uh, will not be too much relaxed. I personally prefer only one person, that I myself will go or one from my team go and ask the questions so they can be a bit relaxed during the answer. The schedule 30 to 60 minutes each, it's a max time. I personally took 15 to 20 minutes. Participants must sign release form. That is a must. People normally provide you the interview, but not providing them the actual pain points. They're providing the wrong information. You don't know what their intention or their intention is. So write a proper signed form. Your questions, answers, write down in the end of or one person with you. His duty is to write the answers which they are providing, write the question which you are asking, and then get a signed form, and that must be a legal paper. So everyone telling the truth. And that if you guys have a question that why people will sign that thing, I yesterday I told that no one gonna give a damn to the free interview or free session. You have to pay them. When you pay them, you have a right to ask to sign legal copy. For researchers, recording app on a phone with enough storage space, notebook with enough blank pages, internet connections, food, bio breaks. That's basically when you ask or the researcher which will be available on you or a recruiter. Yesterday we asked we named him as a recruiter. So the researcher or a recruiter, the person along with you, questioning with the user, they might start a recording from device, mobile, laptop. So that recording will eventually process those information seeking pain points in writing format in the later stages. Mentioned it's not about you, it's about your user. So call them with their name, give them respect, sit beside them, encourage participant to think aloud, uh, be objective and neutral. Sometimes, if we have some anger or impassion or very happy, these moods basically uh, can shift the user's thoughts in a different way. So, you have to be a neutral and then debrief with your team after the session. These are the basic key points. And writing a report, I already mentioned that it must be a legal paper, and I think that's all. So that's all about the user research. Uh, I hope today lecture was short as compared to the yesterday lecture, and that session is of the user research ended. Uh, for those who were not available yesterday, this is the image I will share into the Skype. The user experience process, as I mentioned, that it's something which I believe or I work in it. There are different ways. If I ask you that to touch your ear, so you might touch your ear like this, you might touch your ears like this, you might touch your ears like this. So there are different ways. The main concept or main goal is to do in a manner you believe in. So this is the user experience process which I believe in, where we started with the persona development. The user research is basically help us to start with the personas. Then we develop the empathy maps, which leads to the service of the product blueprint, customer journey map, product roadmap, visual story, mind maps, site maps, flowcharts, concept maps, lean UX canvas. So I will share you these screens, and then it leads to a right prototype, and then it leads to the right user interface design. So I will share you with this image, so you can have it, do some Google research, and if you guys having any question, you may ask in tomorrow, and then we will. What about user stories? User stories are not basically part of this session. I personally cover it into the visual stories, visual story map. In this map, I cover the user stories, and the second part is the storyboarding, the customer journey map. It's also a part of the user story. You see that customer journey map is this. That what are the external experience, customer goals, conversions rate, customer experience codes. There's one way of the example. The second way is what they're doing, what's happening into the screen wise, which they wanted, but it's more close to their current activities and their future act of the project. Again, always remember all of these steps are based on two areas, or basically persona development, the very first phase. It's based on two areas. First is proto persona. It's purely based on the assumption you have to study, get the online surveys or facts or figures from some online information providing companies like World Bank survey or United Nations survey. So that persona, you get the pain points from some surveys. It's a proto persona, not the actual persona. So proto persona can lead to a great user interface design, but it not necessarily to actually provide a solution of real users. So then it comes to the real persona. When you talk with the customer, show them your prototype, and then they will provide you a real feedback. Then your persona will be changed. Talking about your question, when your actual persona, your empathy map will be actual, your service blueprint will be actual, and then your customer journey map or your user story process will be based on the actual base. Okay? So these are the steps, and most probably in our tomorrow's session, I will continue from these user experience steps, which I personally drafted for myself. You can align your steps within this map. You can customize it. You can adopt your own terminology or methodology. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's what I believe a quick, uh, process oriented, and a proper way where you get a statistical or qualifiable and quantifiable data during the each step of why you are doing what activities and how you're doing. So this is a basically answer of great user experience process. So I hope you guys liked today's session.